Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1365A, and today's date is August 28th, 2017, and the title of the episode is Putin Declares Independence from the Rothschild Banking System. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I placed 2 interviews on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel over the weekend. One is with Brandon Smith. The other one is with Edward Carr. So all you need to do is go over to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. You can see the videos there. Come over to the x22report.com site. You'll see the videos on the right-hand side. All you need to do is scroll down a little bit, look over to the right-hand side, and play the videos right there. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, as we can see, the economy continually is breaking down, and we're getting more and more indicators showing us that the economy, well, it's not doing as well as the corporate media wants us to believe. It's not doing as well as the government officials want us to believe. It's not doing as well as the Fed wants us to believe. And what we're seeing right now is that the auto boom, well, it's over right now. Dealers are widely overweight in SUVs, and the market is turning. And what we're seeing right now is that there's a lot of people out there who just cannot buy an automobile. And remember how they got people into the automobile market. They went down to subprime, to subprime, and what we're seeing is that we're having a major problem now. Now remember, vehicles account for 20% of retail spending, and a crash in the auto sector will impact retail, it will impact GDP, and everything is going to start to crash. And this is exactly what is going to happen. Remember, 70% of GDP is made up of retail. Now, we know that brick and mortar stores, the retail sales, they are absolutely awful. There are stores closing left and right, people being laid off, and it doesn't look good at all. When we look at the Census Department, their advanced retail sales report, we can see where where they spend most of their money. It's not in electronics. It's not in furniture. One, it's in food and beverage stores, food service and drinking places. And the top one is motor vehicle and parts. Now, once again, if motor vehicles, if they cannot sell the automobiles, there is going to be a major problem, because this is going to affect retail sales. And you can see right now that if this does happen, well, retail sales is going to be a complete disaster. Now, motor vehicles and parts, like I said, they account for 21% of retail sales. Gasoline stations account for 7.94%, and together they account for 29% of retail sales. And again, we have the food and beverage and the food service, and then we have the rest of retail. So you can see right now, the reason why they've been keeping the automobile industry propped up like this, because that is a huge chunk of retail. And they realized that retail on its own, people are not spending money. They're not going to online. Everyone's not switching. And we have the same number of people shopping online as they were with brick and mortar. They needed to keep retail sales propped up. How do you do that? Well, you can do it by giving people loans where they don't have to take money out of their pocket. You go into a dealership, you get a lease, 0% down, you walk out with a car. Boom. Retail sales are up. This is what we've been seeing. Now remember, the dealership, they receive the automobiles from the automobile manufacturers. When they receive the automobiles, which is channel stuffing their lots, that is counted as sales. Now, if they can't move the vehicles at this point, there's no room for more vehicles to come in, and this is where the problem is. And this is exactly what we're seeing right now. So we're most likely going to see retail sales take a huge hit, and this is going to then hurt GDP, and you're going to see the economy start to really disintegrate. Now, very interestingly, we know the central bankers, they've been controlling many different countries. And last year, Putin was out there, and he banned the Rothschild banking system in Russia. And what we're seeing is just 1 year later, he has declared that Russia is totally independent of the global banking cartel, and the Rothschild international money lending organizations. He's declaring that this achievement is the greatest gift that can be given to future generations. He understands by having a central bank, a private Western central bank, in his country or any country, it destroys the country. And I think a lot of countries are starting to wake up to this, and they're starting to realize that we cannot have a private Western central banking system in the country that basically creates currency, loans it to the government with interest attached. It just doesn't work. Now, Putin went on to say that, they said we couldn't do it. They said it would destroy Russia. He said, but we were able to do it. We were able to remove the Rothschild banking system. And all those people who said that, the Rothschilds and the central banking system, it was going to destroy the country, it didn't happen. Now, the central bankers normally push the idea that if you remove the central banking system, the country will not be able to operate. Look what happened in the UK when they were going through the referendum to detach themselves from the EU, which was the Brexit. They came up with all these things. Well, the UK is going to be destroyed. They're not going to be able to function. And they came up with so many different things that they all didn't come true. Actually, once the central banking system is removed and the people take back the entire system, the country does very, very well. Look at Iceland. They took bankers and they threw them into prison. They took control of the central bank, and their economy is doing very well. And if you look at the countries that still have the central banking system, like Greece, like Spain, like Italy, the United States, Canada, and the rest, you can see that these countries, they're in a huge amount of debt. Their economies are not doing that great. Unemployment is off the charts, and it is getting worse and worse as time goes on. So basically, what has to be done now is, with every single country, the people need to protest. They need to say, listen to the government officials, we don't want the private Western central banks anymore. There is no need for them. There is no purpose for them. And I know a lot of people make the case, well, they handle the monetary system. They make sure that everything... No, that's not what they're doing. They're not part of the people's system. They are a private, separate corporation. Their interest is their own. Yes, they might have a couple of mandates that they put in when they created the system. This is the way they were able to function all this time. But in reality, we don't know what they're doing. There's no audit. There's absolutely nothing. We really don't know how much money they created. We really don't know where they've been shipping it off to. Yes, we have some idea. We've done a little investigative reporting and we can find out some information, but we don't know everything because they keep everything a secret. And this is a huge problem. And what's happening right now is their entire system, it is deteriorating very, very quickly. And what we're seeing is each part of the economy completely break apart and falter. That's what we're seeing right now. And it's not a good sign because we've been following this for quite a while. And as we continually report, we can see that each sector breaks down and it gets worse and worse. It doesn't get better. Remember, the retail industry was propped up by these cheap loans. No money down, no interest to keep retail propped up because the real retail market, it was collapsing and there was nothing they can do to stop it. They couldn't make people go out and spend money. That's completely impossible. That's why they were talking about helicopter money. That's why they were talking about, hey, if we just give the people money, this economy will continue to move forward. But it's not going to work because most of the people saying, you know what, I need this money to pay my electric bill. I need this money to pay for my gas bill. I need it for my rent or my mortgage. And they weren't going to go out and spend it on retail. Now, if people aren't spending it on retail, guess what? Manufacturing doesn't do well. We don't import as much. We don't export as much. And the whole thing starts to break down. This is what we're seeing right now. Now, once the retail market starts to go, it's going to cascade. The housing market's going to start to go. Because remember, if retail's not doing well and automobile dealerships start to close because sales aren't that great, we saw it back in 2008 when Pontiac, they decided to close that. Think of how many dealerships there were. When other things started to go out of business, They had to lay off these people, manufacturers like Saturn also. This is going to be devastating to the economy. And this is where we're headed right now. And you can see as we look at all of this and we follow it and we map it out, we can see that it's continually breaking down. And as we move into this latter part of the year, it's just going to get worse. This holiday season right now is going to be most likely the worst season that we've ever seen. Because think about how many stores have closed. Think about how many people have lost their jobs. Think about all these people who are now delinquent on a lot of their automobile loans. How many people are becoming delinquent on their mortgages because they really can't pay for them. It's going to be a complete disaster. And you're going to see as we approach the latter part of this year, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And as we move into 2018, we're going to see no improvement whatsoever. This is why you need to be prepared. This is why you need to be ready. This is why Russia decided to detach themselves from the Rothschild banking system. This is why countries are dealing outside of the dollar. Yes, they use dollars in certain instances, but for the most part, they're trying to create systems which are completely separate and apart from the West system, because they understand that when this whole thing falls apart, they're going to need to be able to keep their entire country, the entire system, up and running. And this is exactly what they've been preparing for. And if they're preparing for it, if they're purchasing gold, if they're moving away from the private Western central banking system, you need to do the same thing. Well, how do you move away from the private Western central banking system? Very easily. Instead of using the dollar, which is a federal debt note, get some silver, get some gold, and keep it as an insurance policy. Even take some of your currency and buy some cryptocurrency. I'm not saying put everything into cryptocurrency. I'm not saying put everything into silver. But these things will insure your wealth, whatever you have. Because this is how you separate yourself from the central banking system. It's not a complete separation because you still need to use dollars to function in today's world, but we can see that more and more countries, they're moving down this path. This is one way that you can do it. You can also prepare by getting food to make sure that when the system comes down, you're prepared and ready for whatever happens. Maybe it'll be just high inflation. And instead of paying, $8, $9, $10 for a loaf of bread, you have bread or some other type of food that you can substitute for that. Maybe you froze it, maybe something else, but there's something else that you've done to make sure that you're prepared for this hyperinflation. So whatever you're doing, make sure that you are prepared and ready for anything that comes your way. Now, I know you can't prepare for everything, but you can do the best you possibly can. And one way is to make sure that you're insuring your wealth. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.